Hello. This is an intro that I filmed before, but you couldn't hear me. You can hear me speak. You couldn't hear me talking. So I'm redoing this. Even though I'm already over halfway done with the book that I'm reviewing, so. Anyways, a long time ago when I was a junior in high school, I had a mental breakdown and I went out and bought a bunch of books and then didn't read them. A bunch of books that I'd never even heard of before, and then I didn't read them. So this is me reading those books. Well, I'm starting it. It's a goal this year to at least read some of them. So I'm reading one. I'm starting with one, and this is the first one. It's called All We Need of Hell by Harry Crews. So let me give you a little bit of background, and then we'll cut to some vlogage, which was probably sketchy, and then we'll come back and I'll finish. Well, not finish. I'll update on where I'm at right now before I finish. Okay. So Harry Crews, I looked him up and he looks like the grungiest, like most badass biker dude ever. I don't know if that's accurate, but he seemed really cool. He's dead, but he seemed really awesome. And after reading his stuff, I'm like, dang, wow, okay, you're cool. So he is really apparently like a monumental figure in what's called grit lit, which like takes place in the South, and I remember has to do with like working class families and maybe even some violence. I'm not entirely sure. But anyways, I can see why he's like considered a pretty big guy in that, because he's got some good stuff in him. So it follows this guy named Duffy, and he's obsessed with quite a few things. Well, not quite a few things. He's obsessed with like 4 or 5 things. You find those out in the first chapter. Amongst those things are working out, images of death, specifically the Holocaust is his favorite, I think, and handball, which makes him sound kind of like a really weird guy because he is. But I personally love him. So basically, he goes through a mental breakdown kind of thing. He like loses control over his life, his job, his wife, his kid, his house, his everything falls apart, and I hate to say it's awesome. It was interesting to read about. Anyways, so that's the premise. Now we can cut to some live action responses from me as I'm reading the story, and then I'll come back, okay? Hello, and welcome to an intimate look into my life at 12 a.m. on a Sunday. I'm in bed, about ready to read. So far, I've never had a book make me update my Goodreads like with a like more than just like, oh yay, like I'm 20% done. But last night I needed to go to bed, and I had been calming down, doing my nightly routine of reading and not being on my phone. And I literally had to turn on my phone and like lose everything that I had done to calm my mind down just to write an update for this book, because it's got a lot going on right now. To summarize it in 4 words: the Holocaust, but not the way you're thinking, probably. Road biking, sex, and handball. Like the game, which I don't think I've ever played. Maybe I played it in like 6th grade, but like... Anyways, I'm only 2 chapters in. It's a super short book, but I'm gonna keep reading it, and we're gonna see what happens. And this is the beginning. This is the start of me reading books that I've literally never heard of, but I for some reason own. Also, I do have my retainer in. Like I said, this is an intimate look into my life at midnight, when the clock strikes 12. Okay, you get it? Okay. I'm gonna go read now. More thoughts about the book. First of all of the characters are named such interesting things. The main character's name is Duffy. His friend is named Jert. And then there's this other guy named Tump. I love it. I'm also highlighting a lot. And I don't know if it's just because I am so desperate for something good, because I have not read a 5-star book yet this year. And it's the middle of March. And I'm just getting desperate for something, and I'm lowering my standards. Or if it's because I relate to Duffy, which is kind of scary if that's the case. But somehow, I'm actually highlighting quite a bit of this stuff in here, so that's nice. I'm not annotating this book because I don't really want to, but I always keep a pen by me just in case I want to highlight something. And I've done that multiple times. I also laugh a lot. It's really funny. But yeah, interesting so far. Hello, I'm back, and I'm going to talk about my current thoughts, okay? Last night as I was reading, I updated my Goodreads, which I never do. I never update my Goodreads, but I was updating my Goodreads for this book because I have updated it as I've been reading it because I just have been so intrigued. But I realized something. I realized that this man, Harry Crews, he writes just like this book feels as if he just like sat down at a desk, just started writing, didn't stop until he was done, and then he just like shipped it in, and they were like, "You're Harry Crews, so yeah, let's just publish this as is." Like, and it's not bad that that's the case. They're just like, excuse me. There's just a lot of moments where I'm like, why is this in here? I like it, but why is it in here? It's just kind of random. And because the book is so short, thank goodness, those moments don't go on for too long. It's just a little bit of like, how is this relevant? And it's just like a paragraph, and then all of a sudden you're just like back to the story. You're just like, thank you for that, just like side tangent. He's just like, side note, blah, 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 blah. And then you're just like, what? And then he's like, okay, let's go back to the story. And you're like, I guess. And like, it's a road that it's a whole new journey. It's a new kind of journey, a new kind of story that I've never read before. And I'm super on board. Now, I have yet to read a 5-star book this year. And I don't know if this is a 5-star read, but I think that might, I worry that might be impacting my review of this and my reception, how I'm receiving this book, because I'm reading this and I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. But it's also, first of all, a book unlike anything I've ever read before. Second of all, it's short. And third, I have not read anything that's been good this year. And so I feel like I'm a little bit desperate for, I just want a 5-star so bad. And so I feel like I might be giving this book more than it's like worth. But also I'm enjoying it. So like, I'm just not gonna, I'm not gonna like, why am I second guessing enjoying a book, right? Anyways, other thoughts that I've had while reading this. I'm not entirely sure. I'll make sure I cover everything at the end, all my thoughts, but I think we should take a brief intermission because this book has earned way more like quote underlining than I thought it would. Like, looking at this book on my bookshelf, I was like, why did I buy that? I know why I bought it. I was an angsty teen, and I was like, hell, yes, that'll show them. I'm gonna buy a book with that word hell in it. Like, huh? Anyway, so we're gonna take a brief pause, and we're gonna read through some quotes that I found and highlighted that I thought were super cool, or at least good. I do read this right before I go to bed, and so there's a likelihood that they are not actually that good of quotes, and I just, in my sleepiness, was like, let's underline that puppy. But I will say this book has gotten a dog ear. I give out my dog ears sparingly now. I used to just like dog ear every page, which, defeated the purpose of dog earing. But it has one dog ear, so we can see where that is. But here's some random quotes, okay? Quotes out of context. You'll find out soon enough, son. Every man's time comes to him, and yours will come to you. It doesn't really matter if you go to war or not. The nation of the heart, either... Okay, let's start that over. You'll find out soon enough, son. Every man's time comes to him, and yours will come too. It doesn't really matter if you go to war or not. In the nation of the heart, there's enough war for everybody. Cool. In context, it makes more sense and is probably has more of an impact, but we'll take it. This one. He didn't think for a minute that she was crazy, although he knew there were other people who did. Duffy wondered if she had only seen through to the other side of a place he himself had never been privileged to see. I like that. I love studying mad women, like women who are painted as crazy in literature, because most of the time, they're just like unloved. And like no one has like the patience enough to deal with them. And so they just are driven crazy by, being unwanted, which I mean, same. Anyways, and so there is a slight mad woman in here. And so that's a quote about her, and I love that. So I guess there's some context for your quote out of context, but it's fine. There's one more. There's one more that I want to read. This is probably my favorite quote in the whole book, and it's about books. And I feel like it resonates with me, okay? He didn't like to be too far from his books. They were, the best of them anyway, efforts to get a handle on the world, to name the abyss, to wrestle with it, and at the same time to avoid bullshit. Okay, yes. So, anyway, that's my update. I'm like 67% done with this. I don't know when I'll finish it. I'm in a bit of a funk, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get some in. And then I can tell you my full review. Okay? Okay. Yay. Hello. I'm in bed. It's late. It's been a few days since I've read any All We Need of Hell, because I spent the weekend with some friends, and then I had a binge read of half of a book for an English class, but I did it. So now I get to read All We Need of Hell. I think I'm like 67% done. I'm really excited. So far, I have gotten rather emotional, but haven't cried. I don't think I will, but I'm just super excited to like see where this story goes. It's so short, and we're still so in the middle. Like, I just still have no idea, like, where is this gonna go? What's exactly gonna happen? The back of it sets me up to think that, like, all of the issues, and oh my goodness, there are a lot, but all of, like, the issues that the main character is having are going to, like, be solved, but, like, nothing has happened so far to work towards solving them, and we're, like, super close to the end. You see that right there? Anyways, we'll see. I'm excited to keep going. I'm hoping I can finish it, like, very, very soon, and hopefully we'll see how that goes. Hi. I finished it. I got emotional. I didn't think I would, but I did. And wanna know why? The last, like, few lines are insanely cheesy. But because the whole rest of the book isn't cheesy, it's kind of like, it kind of works. Because it's like, the whole book is basically just about how, like, things are going to be okay. But, like, nothing actually gets solved in the book. And I think that's why I like it so much, is that, like, so much goes wrong and nothing gets better, but they know by the end that things are going to get better. And there's also some very sweet scenes of, like, men being vulnerable with each other.
which of course we love. I have quite a few dog ears in here. Of either just like super good quotes, or like there's one dog ear that is like the entire page. It's just so good. So yeah. I think that if you read it one way, you could read it and be like, what the heck? Why does everything just all of a sudden get better? But then Cruz puts in like another scene where it's like, oh, okay, no. They still have all their issues. But they just know that they're just gonna try to actually work through them instead of just keep running away from them, I guess is really what it is. And I think you could easily like just like brush past that and just see like a weird ending where everything is first of all a little bit cliche, and second of all everything just like wraps up too well. But that's not actually what it is. Like I could see someone thinking that, but they'd be wrong. So long story short, or I guess short story shorter, I really liked this. I don't know what I want to rate it yet. We'll sleep on it.
I finished it, and I have so much I want to say. Okay, first things first, it got 5 stars. I know. It made me emotional at the end, and it surprised me. Those two things really helped it to get those 5 stars. Typically, another requirement for 5 stars is that I think every single person in the world should read this. I don't think that about this book. There's a lot of people who probably would be like so confused and would hate this book. And I don't want them to read it because I loved it and I'm very protective of it. So, and part of me also just like wants to keep it to me, like keep it to myself. So, because of that, it doesn't fit that requirement, but it surprised me and it made me emotional. So, it got 5 stars. Now, the plot. It sounded to me, it felt like Harry Crews sat down at a desk and just typed away. He got a little tipsy and then maybe did some drugs. There are drugs in here. And then just like went to work creating the weirdest situations, the weirdest characters, and it worked. So, with that being said, there was a part where I was like, where is this going to go? And why am I reading this still? And you know what? I think Harry Crews had the same kind of thought. He was like, shoot, I have dug us into so many holes. How am I going to fill them all? And then he just kind of was like, what if I don't? And it worked. Not every author could manage to pull that off. And not every reader could read this and think he pulled it off. I think it's not like, it doesn't give you the satisfying tie it all with a bow kind of end. It doesn't even tie it at all. It just like leaves the ribbon just hanging and the present isn't even wrapped, but you get the present. Kinda. Anyway, weird analogy, but the point is that nothing gets fixed, but it works. Okay, I'm moving on because I don't know. I think I just keep digging myself in holes by trying to explain the plot of this story without telling you what happens. The characters are very, very similar vibes. Like, he just kind of made these really weird characters with really weird quirks, and it works. And they do horrible things. They screw with each other's lives. They screw each other. And it just kind of, it's just like a bunch of horrible people kind of getting together, having no idea what they want to do, no idea how to fix their problems, and it works. I keep on saying that over and over again, but that's because that's the truth, and that's because I don't know how to say it in any other way. The characters, you hate them, and you also cannot help but like want what's best for them. You watch them do the weirdest things, and they're confusing, and they kind of don't serve a purpose. And it's good though, because I feel like what Harry Crews captured in this story is that sometimes people make choices that make no sense to us whatsoever. And you never really get to figure out why they made those choices. That's part of life, and that's part of this book. Like, that's the characters for you. And I fell in love with it. I also dog-eared quite a few pages. I have quite a few quotes. Like, I was reaching for my pen a lot. Like, I was like, why am I underlining so much of this random book that I picked up at my library years ago and then just never thought about ever again? But I was underlining like crazy. So, that's fun. Let's see. I guess all in all, who would I recommend this to? Honestly, I don't want to recommend it to anyone because I kind of just want to keep it in my heart. It was like such a weird special experience for me, which is kind of odd because if you read this book, you'd be like, why? But it got me out of a slump for sure. And it was something completely new. And I loved the way it ended. And it was just, yeah, good. So who would I recommend this to? Well, someone who doesn't mind. It's called grit lit for a reason. That is an accurate statement. It's just gritty and not glamorous, very just like messy and kind of like gross in a way. I'm not helping anyone want to read this. I don't know. If that sounds great, then go for it. I think you should. It's super short. It's only like 161. Haha, 161 pages. I think it's worth it. I couldn't find the audiobook anywhere, but I think it was great. And I would recommend if you're into that kind of gritty, just everyone sucks, everything sucks kind of book, which paints me as a very interesting character now. But, anyways, that's all I have to say. I'm very excited to do this series because it's going to get me to keep reading all the random books that I have on my bookshelf that I've never even heard of. I'm not entirely sure what's next. The next book I'm reading is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, but I've heard of that one, so it's not in this series. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Goodbye.